Bear cubs look so lovable, but they can grow to be over 1,500 pounds, and some are dangerous, even scarier when they come into your garden, right? Once Slovenian family got the chance to find out. Stay tuned to find out what happened when a bear cub walks into a family's garden, hugs the dog when he tries to bark and alert the owners. It was a nice summer day in Alberta, Canada, just afternoon on the 17th of August, 2019, a day Margie Whitehead will never forget. Margie was busy soaking in the sun outside with her two lovely dogs and cooling down for the summer by watering plants in her greenhouse. She was about to go inside when something took her by surprise and made her take a step back in disbelief. Her eyes met with three big grizzly bears. Margie's dogs immediately went on the defense, barking aggressively at them. Once the bears just looked on very nonchalant, Margie, however, froze into a state of shock at what she was witnessing. She was too petrified to even move. Margie was home alone that day, which made it even more terrifying. Her husband and son were both 3 hours away in Edmonton, Canada. Not knowing what to do, Margie ran straight into the house and locked the doors behind her. She went upstairs to the patio where she felt safe and tried to call her precious dogs inside. The dogs might be as small as a bean, but their loyalty and courage to protect their owner right in the face of danger knows no bounds. However, that didn't stop her from being terrified for her dog's safety. She started calling her husband on the phone while simultaneously recording the three bears rummaging around her garden. One of the young bears ran towards the dogs, but the dogs were left unharmed. Margie's husband told her in between her frantic screams of terror to find a gun and shoot the bears. Her son told one of the neighbors to come over and help. Before the neighbor reached Margie's, she noticed that the bears had entered her root cellar, where she stores all the dog food. She frantically attempted to call her dogs back into the house to no avail, while the bears ate away at their food, much to their displeasure. Margie found the gun. She was all fired up. Maybe it was the adrenaline being pumped through her body of being put in such a terrifying situation, or maybe it was not wanting anyone to hurt her dogs. Whatever it was, Margie put all of her fears aside and picked up the gun in a bold attempt to send scare shots to shoo the bears away. Trembling with fear and crying at what she just did, the bears remained unfazed at the two shots. She was surprised they never ran off. The bears were living in their own worlds and paid no attention to the noise being made, nor the drama they inadvertently started. Margie's neighbors arrived seconds after, and he managed to reassure her and get the smaller of her two dogs into his vehicle. The neighbor then drove up onto the lawn and into the backyard, hoping the vehicle would scare them off. That didn't work. He then kept driving the vehicle more towards them whilst firing scare shots and yelling. The bears got the message loud and clear and ran away down towards a nearby creek. Everyone was relieved that they were all safe and unharmed despite their close encounter. Margie got her two dogs back inside and made sure all the doors were firmly locked. She could finally put her feet up and relax, or could she? The two bears had enough of the creek, but couldn't get enough of Margie and her two dogs. The grizzlies returned 2 hours later, and they thought they'd try their luck one more time to get back into the root cell for some dog food. Unfortunately for them, by this time it had been closed. The bears were annoyed that Margie had locked the door. "I know, how dare she not leave it open so they could eat the dog food." The grizzlies showed off their big claws and dug their way into the ground around the root cellar and clawed the side of Margie's home in their temper tantrum wrath. Margie heard the racket outside, looked out her window, and immediately picked up her gun. She went up to the patio, took a deep breath, and sent 3 more scare shots. The bears decided to cut their losses and fled off into the sunset. The bears, despite the understandable want to protect your loved ones and kill them, are a threatened species in Alberta, Canada. Margie is still extremely frightened. Every time she steps foot outside, she looks around in panic, a horrible feeling to be scared in your own garden, a place you should normally be able to relax, not walk on eggshells. This was the first time in 29 years a brown bear was seen in her area. It's no surprise then that all her neighbors were very tense and unnerved. The last time she saw a bear was when it was running through her garden. The bears have been going on the neighbors' decks, encouraging for food. Bears that are shy of humans or willingly approach them are an increased risk to injure or kill someone. Officers always have to assess bears to determine whether they have to be put down to prevent the safety and welfare of the general public. Alberta Fish and Wildlife officers set up 3 traps in the general area afterwards and caught the 3 grizzly bears 4 days later. contrary to what Margie and her neighbors did. If you see a bear in person, don't run, scream, or yell. Speak in a soft, monotone voice and wave your arms to let it know that you are human. Bears are more commonly seen in the summertime as they're looking for food to fatten up before hibernation. Rumor has it they were searching for porridge. Brown bears are one of the most dangerous animals in the world, but don't they look like butter would melt? When the Loger family's dog spotted a bear, you'll never guess what happened next. A bear cub walked into the family's garden, hubs the dog when he tries to bark and alert the owners. In a small Slovenian village in May 2017, there was a 3-month-old little brown bear cub, cute as a feather. The baby bear was abandoned by his mom and was all lost wandering through town. Down on his luck, when he noticed a beautiful garden he wanted to explore, the little brown bear was peacefully enjoying exploring the Loger family's garden until their Rottweiler Matías locked eyes with him. They both stared each other down, a mere inch from one another. Matías was only seconds away from opening his mouth to bark and alert his beloved family of an intruder in their kingdom. But the cub leaped across him with moments to spare. The bear wanted to show Matías that he came in peace and wasn't a threat to him, so he put his fluffy paw over Matías and started hugging him. The hug seemed to calm Matías down, but the dog still let out a loud enough yelp to alert his family of the unknown stranger in their garden. The Loger family then looked outside to see what all the fuss was about. The family were stunned to see a baby bear hugging their dog. They didn't know what to do, but the cub seemed so harmless and sweet. Yet, he was a brown bear, but there was no sign of any other bears around, and he was a baby after all. The family made a decision that would change their lives and the cub's life forever. The Loger family decided to adopt the little bear and named him Meadow Shreko, which translates to lucky bear. They were both lucky to have each other. Meadow warmed up to his new family fairly quickly. He would soon play fighting with his adoptive father Matías and rolling around in the grass having a bear all time. They now had their real-life Paddington bear. The family wanted to build a permanent enclosure in their garden so Meadow could roam around freely and safely and live with them without a problem. They asked for permission to get this done. However, both the environment inspectors and vets advised them that building an enclosure for the bear would be too dangerous. They offered another solution that the family didn't agree with. They insisted on sending Meadow to an animal shelter, where he would be properly looked after, which the Loger family took as an attack on them. Meadow became like a member of their family, and they couldn't bear having to give him up. Eventually, as time passed, the family soon realized that Meadow was getting too big, and despite their love for him, they knew it was selfish to keep him. Love isn't enough. The family all had to do what was best for him. They agreed to send him off to an animal shelter where he would be looked after and have more bears to make friends and play around with. However, the plans didn't quite go so smoothly. One day before Meadow was sent off to his new home in the shelter, his enclosure was broken into. Where did he go? Meadow was bare-napped. Everyone was shocked and immediately started looking for him. The police got involved, and the animal shelter offered a €1,100 reward for any information relating to baby Meadow's whereabouts. Thankfully, the little bear was recovered safe and sound in no time by Four Paws. They took and placed him in a bear orphanage in Harghita, Romania, which prepares bears for a return to the wild. He's well taken care of by top experts there and interacting with other bears. Now he has all the space to move around and enjoy his life. The family will never forget little Meadow and how he left tiny, fluffy footprints all over the lives with his sweet attitude. The pain of letting him go stung a hole right through their chest. But seeing how happy and well cared for he is in the shelter made the process that more bittersweet for them. What would you do if a brown bear wounded into your garden? Tell us in the comments below. See you in our next video.